What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fit, Healthy, and most of all, Happy podcast. I'm your coach and host, Josh, here with
his co-host and co-coach, KG, and I'm in the house.
Motivation Monday. Let's get fired up and jump right into an incredible episode today. We got some killer questions, some amazing quotes, and I have something I'm really excited to share myself. So the first question we have is, hey, Kyle and Josh, I love your message and I find that you guys are inspirations to me. How do you continue to operate at such a high level and not fall off? So first of all, thank you for this question. It's very heartwarming to hear, and I'm glad that we can be an inspiration. And ultimately, I mean, even if you're on video, the banner behind Kyle says discipline equals freedom. Being disciplined, being consistent is ultimately the biggest thing. And you don't just snap your fingers and completely rewrite your entire path of life. You do it one step at a time. You begin to take steps in that right direction to build better habits, to improve your expertise, to become more advanced step after step. So just know that it took a lot of time to get here. We've been lifting over 10 years. We've been coaching over 7 years or 8 years, whatever it may be now. We've been in this game for a long time, and we've had a lot of opportunity to keep improving. And a big part of that too is not being complacent. Don't just rest on your laurels and say, I'm doing okay, it's good enough. Always be striving to learn more, to do more, to improve. And I think the most important thing at all, and I was really happy to answer this question because I actually had this written in and I saw a note I loved, is not allowing yourself to lose sight of where you want to be and allowing yourself to devolve, if you will. So I've been reading Jocko Willick's book. It's quite simply just motivation, his thoughts, him peppering things out. And I was just saying to Kyle, like, no one chooses and says, you know what I want to do this year? I want to gain 20 pounds of fat. I don't care anymore. No one says that. Even I assure you, if you've gained fat or you are gaining fat, you don't want to be. You want to stop it. You just want to live your life, be healthy and happy. But unfortunately, this happens a lot of times just by making a few bad decisions. And before you know it, you're like, how did I get here? Like, what am I doing? I'm eating like trash every weekend. I'm just blowing it out with my calories. I haven't gone to the gym. And this could start from you one time saying, I'm going to skip the gym today. I'm a little bit tired. Then the next day happens and you have a busy week, and then you're scared to go back in because it's been a month. So I want to share what Jocko shared here because I found it incredibly motivating. And I actually find, even for me, like one of the best things has been when I start to notice myself slipping or falling off, I know I got to get back to what I know, and that is discipline, because motivation will come and go. If you rely on being motivated to be successful, to be driven, to actually see change, that's not how it's going to work. You can use that as fuel, but the main thing is that you avoid really falling off. So what Jocko had shared was, we're defeated one tiny insignificant surrender at a time that chips away at our discipline. We sleep in a little later, we miss a workout, then another. We start to eat what we shouldn't eat and drink what we shouldn't drink. And without realizing it, one day you wake up and you become something that you would have never allowed. The solution is you need to be vigilant. You need to be on guard. You have to hold the line on the seemingly insignificant little things that shouldn't matter but do. And what I love too is, I've said before, it's my favorite quote ever, is how you do anything is how you do everything. So even if it's the tiniest thing and like you just start to cut corners, that signals to yourself when you're in the gym and you're supposed to do 8 reps, 6 is good enough, or let me do a little bit less weight. And it seems like tiny little surrenders, but these surrenders stack. Whereas if you do the opposite and use that mentality of one more, and you start to ask yourself, how can I do a little bit more today? How can I smile at one more person? How can I wake up on time and eat a healthier breakfast? How can I do an extra lunch? That's how you're going to get motivated. That's how you're going to improve. And what's amazing is one of my clients recently, he mentioned how he just really wanted to lock in. He's going all in, he refuses. And he just said to me, he's like, man, I forgot how addictive it is when you start to see progress and you get excited. So you got to ask yourself, are you building yourself up and moving toward your goals? Or are you moving away from it? And I think the way I've been able to stay motivated is when I reach a goal, I set new, bigger, scarier ones. When I'm far from a goal, I analyze where am I going wrong and where can I improve? And I'm very honest with myself in that. And me and Kyle push each other. We've kept growing and we keep just trying to move that needle towards being fitter, healthier, and happier. And what I love, like I said, when my clients come into my program and I work with them, they start to see results. I say, I got you now. Because when you start to see results, you get addicted and you get inspired because you start to realize, oh shoot, I can do this. Whereas I've been there where you just start to slack a little bit and start to fall off and you're like, what's happening? And you feel demotivated and you feel like you're falling and you can't catch yourself. So if that's you, like you got to take action, you got to take that step. And maybe you've just built the wrong habits and you can undo that by building the right ones. So I know I veered a little bit from the actual question of how we stay motivated and continue to operate at a high level. But that whole way of thinking, and also having the patience and forgiveness for yourself, where if you mess up, just to say, how can I learn from it and how can I improve? I'd say that's my secret weapon, but I'm really curious to hear Kyle's answer.
Yeah, that was so well said. And, it's, as Josh mentioned, it's taken a while, right? Like most people don't realize, but the first self-help book we started listening to, there was two called The Compound Effect and 10X, the 10X rule that Josh told me about like over 12 years ago, which is crazy, right? So I know it's new to a lot of people as well. Like it's not the norm to just be consistently consuming this stuff and to be around people who are at high levels. And typically the norm is just kind of to, have small goals so you can achieve them and you can feel good, to talk about like the small day-to-day things that really, I guess, like everyone can talk about that's going on, and instead of being focused on like growth. And it is very, very rare. So if you are listening to this, you are definitely someone who wants to get to that next level, and you might just be starting out, but it does take a while, right? Like you don't just snap your fingers and you're like, all right, I'm motivated and I'm never going to fall off and stay on track. And, for us, it's just been like, I guess you could say 12-ish years of just like relentless consistency, right? There'll be an off day here and there, don't get me wrong, but over the sum of just like the years and years, we've just gotten better, we've just gotten stronger, we've just gotten mentally stronger, physically, and just like growth of the business and every way possible. But I'd attribute that to like three really big things. The first thing is, as Josh was saying, goal setting. So it's hard not to succeed when you have really big goals. And like Josh said, when you set a goal, you set another one. And I think it's important to celebrate, to be happy with where you're at, based off of those goals. And don't get me wrong, like some people make the mistake of just like hitting a goal and then just not caring and not giving themselves credit. So they always say proud but never satisfied. I think it's a good way to live. So even for us, like our vision is to help over 10,000 people one-on-one online. It's like, how are we going to stop? Like, are we going to just stop this podcast and stop doing stuff? Like when we have that great and big of a goal? Absolutely not. Strength-wise, we've got some goals there. Even financially, of course, some different goals. And car-wise, I want to get, at some point in the future, I've got some big goals there, right? So I think that's where a lot of people go wrong, is they feel like they can't hit them and they've failed a few times. And then there's always people in their ear telling them, hey, be realistic. You shouldn't aim for that. But it's like when you have these things and you write it down and you consistently think about it, there's no way you're not going to be motivated to take action over time, right? There will be days where you just like, I don't want to do anything, but long term you will be, right? The second thing is just consistent motivation, right? And I don't say motivation in like the motivational videos. I think that helps, but I mean like content, right? So it's like podcasts, YouTube videos, books. I just started reading Tony Robbins' book, which has been amazing. He's super fantastic, and I feel like I can learn a lot from him. He's one of the best in the industry for a reason. So that's another thing. And then surrounding yourself with people who are also accomplishing stuff. So for us, it's, we've been together working on the business and working out for a long time. So it's like we can bounce things back and forth. But if you have a circle of people who are like also winning and trying new things and just like operating at a different level, it makes such a big difference. So have big goals, get that motivation and knowledge around you, and find some good people to push you. And that's really the recipe. And you just keep rinsing and repeating, and it goes a long way.
I've said it before too, you can't become an eagle hanging around turkeys. So I find when you're around people that just inspire you to do more, when you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so much weaker than all these people around me, or I'm the worst in shape out of my friend group here, like naturally you're going to feel a pull to improve. Whereas if you're like, I'm the most elite, I'm doing all these things right, you're not going to feel as much of a desire to actually level up and improve. So start to challenge yourself to find those situations, those people, join meets. Like it's really humbling. You could be the strongest person in your circle or your family. You join a powerlifting meet and you're like, shoot, there's some strong people in here. So the more you can start to find that inspiration, and even for us, like we're so blessed because even like we have incredible coaches that we work with here on our team, and they're out of this world, but our community is out of this universe. So we have just an incredible community here of amazing like clients that we get to work with, and we're all motivating each other, sharing tips and tricks, sharing our goals, being vulnerable and honest, as well as just building each other up. And when you're just seeing other people winning, it just makes you want to win too, right? Whereas if you're just hearing about how everything's horrible and doomed and it's impossible to lose weight, this and that, you might start to subscribe and buy into that mentality. So that's where it's really important you get around the right people. You have people on your side rooting for you, cheering for you. Even my clients, I tell them all the time, like, I care more about your progress than I do mine. And I care about my progress a lot. So that should really communicate how much I care about my clients winning. thing. And when you have someone who believes in you, like it just vaults you forward so much. So those are some of our other high level, I guess, hacks that we have that we're really proud to utilize. But now we're going to go ahead and jump into our quotes. And I just thought my quote was a fun one, so I'm going to lead with it. So my quote is from Nassim Taleb, and that's men destroy each other during war and themselves during peacetime. And you could take the man out, you could just say everybody, humans, if you will, because I think most often when we're just getting after it and we're active and whatever, obviously, usually that's when we're doing good things. We're on the run, we're busy. That's when you feel fulfillment. And in a way, it's a really nice feeling. But I find when we're doing nothing and we have no challenge, no purpose, no struggle, it's actually a net bad thing. And we've used that example before where you can inject struggle into your day in healthy doses to actually improve your mindset and your mentality. So I struggle every day, waking up on time, not sleeping in, doing what I know is going to build me up. I struggle that first decision of the day to eat something healthy. And then I go and I struggle in the gym for an hour and I get a tough workout in. And then after that, like other things that are going to come at me in my day don't seem like as big of a deal because I've already shown myself I can overcome the struggle. I can push, I can grow. So I think it's a great point, right? I think sometimes you just like, I just wish I could sit around and do nothing and just be a blob. And then you do it for an hour. Like even when I'm sick, sometimes I'm like, oh, this sucks. Like I want to get out. I like when I'm so busy and I'm running around and getting things done. So I thought this was a fun quote. And I think you got to ask yourself too, like sometimes, how can I inject some struggle? How can I inject some challenge? Like, can I do a meet? Can I do a weight loss challenge? Like whatever it may be, can I go help out a friend? Like anything you could do like that, I think is really good. And I've noticed I'm definitely my best when I'm occupied and things are busier, and even just doing different things like being in a volleyball league has been really fun again. Like it's amazing how much net energy it gives you, even though it's really physically demanding and tiring and we commute super far to get to our league, but it's still a net energy booster for me because you just feel inspired. It's fun. You're outside. So it's easy to always say like, I need to do less, but sometimes doing more is actually better. And one thought I had today that I want to challenge myself with on Mondays, because I love Mondays, I'll plan a lot for the week, I'll get really excited, is I want to make a list of everything I'm excited for in that week. Say like, what am I looking forward to? And I started thinking about this today and I'm like, wow, I actually naturally feel better. Even if it's little things like, oh, I'm going to watch a hockey game, I'm going to work out with a friend, I'm going to go play ball. Like you just start to feel really excited. You're like, heck yeah, like this is good. And it kind of gets you moving and grooving and thinking. So I think that's a fun little exercise. I think it's just a good reminder, obviously, to take time for peace and rest. It's very important, but to also make sure you're stimulating yourself with challenge and growth in really healthy and effective ways.
Yeah, I'm very similar. And that's like a great even kind of segue from the previous thing of like, how have we stayed consistent and like consistently growth oriented and succeeded over the years. It's just like having so much to look forward to and just having like a lot going on, right? I think like Josh said, that quote couldn't be more true. And I just even think of myself, like how I operate. If I have nothing going on, man, it's not a good thing. Like I need to have like exciting stuff, exciting content, lots of good things planned for the clients and challenges and, just so much for me to be at my best. And that's something so important to remember. Like even a lot of people, they feel burnt out, but it's just that they don't have enough stuff that they're looking forward to. And that's absolutely the truth. So I really like that. And my quote here, it's from Rocky, and I got it from a motivational video I was listening to this morning. You guys obviously know the whole speech, but I really liked when he said, it's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. And I really like that. Even just before that, he said like, life will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you allow it to. And I just really think of like, how you react to certain circumstances is everything. It's not about being knocked down, but it's about whether you decide to get back up, and are you going to get back up and like fully attack what's in front of you, or are you just going to lay there and let it take over, right? And I use this in so many different examples. Like it could be an injury. We talk a lot about that. It could be a sickness where you just say, oh, well, this isn't meant for me. Could even be financially, right? You hear a lot of stories where some people are taken out and it's like they come back stronger than ever. And it's very, very hard during these tougher times where you get knocked down, where you get hit and you're just like, I don't want to do it anymore. But the truth is like, that's really what matters. It's just what you do afterwards. And I've had some different circumstances in life where I've just been taken out, right? Whether it's the motorcycle crash, whether it's just injuries, sicknesses, like, different hardships where I was like debating what to do with my life before Colossus Fitness and had to quit my job and quit school. And I was like, there's been a lot of those down moments where I'm like, holy, I just feel like I've been knocked down, but I'm so glad like I pushed through those challenging moments, got up, fought as much as I could, and I'm in a really good spot. So yeah, I really like that. And I'm actually going to link down below. It'll be probably the third link. It's just like, it's called Why We Fall. And it's like a 6-minute video with some of my favorite speeches. There's one, it's like in inches, like when, it's like a guy just yelling in the dressing room to like a team, and it's just so intense. There's the Rocky speech. There's like all of my favorites and like little bits of it, and there's like 10 million views or something like that. So yeah, if you ever need some fire, that is one of my favorite videos that I just found recently, and I think you'll really like it as well.
Yeah, and ask yourself, what gets you fired up, right? Find a motivational video, have a hype song. Even before I went to the gym the other day, I just went on a quick walk in the nice weather and just spent some time like thinking, getting ready for the gym. Little things like that. There's ways to inject bits of motivation that will work for you. So I think that's a great point too. And yeah, it's about how you get up. And now we're going to go ahead and jump into our... Well, do you have any thoughts first?
No, I mean, honestly, not a whole lot. Yes. So I always say no, and then I have something. I'm not a swimming sideways kind of guy. Josh said this to me today, and I'm like, man, that's so true, right? So I have gone all in on the Summer Shred Challenge. I've said no many, many times so far. Like, it's funny because when you fully commit to the journey, and I've shared this with some of my clients who, like, we all have challenges once again, where it's like, there was Mother's Day recently, and then it's just like, we're fully committed. But I shared, I'm like, I honestly realized there's been like 15 instances where it's just like, you're encouraged to have something where something's tempting, and there's just so much of that, like whether it's like that fast food sign on your way home when you're starving. I've started to get really hungry at the end of the night, and I know that that's good for me because hunger just means I'm in a deficit. Even though I've been having high volume and high protein, like it's still there. So there's been so many challenges where I'm like, okay, this is it. Like I'm 100% dialed in. Like, you can't take me away from my journey, and I want to do the best for the next 4 weeks and beyond. And I've done so many of these phases in the past, like not so many. I could still count on probably my one hand of like times where I was like pretty much in, but I wasn't 100%, where I kind of wanted it. And to me, there's nothing worse, right? You're giving yourself that false reality that you're making the right decisions. And then when something tempts you, you're like, okay, cool, I'm down. And I know so many people that do this. And to get the best results, you just have to go all in, like just fully commit. And it's not that you can't, like I had a McDonald's ice cream cone, 230 calories a week and a half ago, right? I'm able to fit that in. Like I planned it, I saved calories, I allocated. Like you can still enjoy fun foods, but it's like that tub of Ben and Jerry's that someone would, tempt you with, or that like the gas station, like it's just calling your name. Like you have to say no to all these different things, and I promise you'll be in a different spot. So I'm excited to document my progress and show it more on Instagram over the next few weeks. So make sure you're checking that out. And that's my main thought for today.
Yeah, if you want real results in anything, just lock in. If you go 100% at something, of course you're going to mess up, of course you're going to fall, but that's really how it's done. When you're half in, half out, that's usually when you end up swimming sideways or actually going backwards. So you got to attack your goals, be hungry for it, and I think that was a great mention. I shared most of my thoughts, obviously, within that question, so that paired quite nicely. But so speaking of our amazing community here, who is our client shout out this week? How they do it? What are their tips?
Yeah, so this week we have Mandy, and she's done such a great job of replacing body fat with lean muscle. We're just so proud of her, and she's been working with us for a couple months now. And you can see if you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify, you can get the video. There's a screenshot of her transformation as well as some of her top tips. But it's incredible because so many people don't realize that body compositions are a real thing. And we've talked about this for years now. And still, I think people have those doubts of just like, is it actually possible? This is a point where you're replacing body fat and you are putting on lean muscle. And even if the weight's not crazy drastically different, like she's 11 pounds in the difference, but she looks like a different person. Her energy, her strength, like every part of her life is completely different, even though it is just 11 pounds, right? She went from 140 to 129 and she's still continuing to see progress. So yeah, it's just absolutely fantastic at, what you're able to accomplish with the right, I always say you need the right game plan. You need the right accountability, most people do have the right mindset. Like a lot of people who come to us, and this might be you, like you're already spending time in the gym. You're already trying to diet. You're already trying to eat healthier. You just don't have the right game plan and you don't have the right accountability. So we will be there for you every single step of the way. If you are someone that wants to replace body fat and put on muscle for the summer, you're not trying to see any drastic changes where it's like 50 pounds lost, 100 pounds, but you're just trying to see your body composition change and just like feel less fluffy, I guess you could say, and just more tightened and toned. Just message us body recomp to our Instagram at colossusfit, colossusfit. We'll absolutely help you get there and get you some amazing guaranteed results.
Awesome. Now we're going to jump back to the mailbag for our second question. And that is, you guys always talk about how your routines are superior. What makes your routine so great? And how can I use some of those tips to improve my workouts? I think that's a fair question. I think anyone you ever talk to be like, I got the craziest workouts, right? It's really easy to come up with a crazy workout. I could make up something right now that would probably make you pass out. Like if you did squats for 10 reps followed by 10 jump squats holding like a dumbbell, and then you did like lunges or something crazy, you'd be dead and you'd be like, oh, this is insane. But that's not necessarily going to help you progress, right? Like that might be so far from what you're trying to achieve and from your goals. And it's not about what's the craziest workout. It's about what's the most intelligent workout. Now, I mentioned before this concept of MED and MRV. So MED is minimal effective dose, whereas MRV is max recoverable volume. So there are two different theories, and I think the best theory is somewhere in between. So minimal effective dose is like, what's the minimal amount of volume I can do in my workout to still see progress? Because the benefit here is it's not going to tax you. It's going to be very easy to recover from. It's going to be very sustainable time-wise, because I think time is a big barrier to people where they're like, hey, if I had 2 hours to work out a day, I wouldn't mind it, but it's just not realistic. Whereas MRV is like, what's the most you can do? Let's drive every wedge of results until you break. And even if you think of all these crazy European volume training, that's kind of what they'll do. They'll break you down, especially for their Olympic lifters, and they'll see who's left standing. And it's like the battle of the best genetics. But all those other people are going to be broken, injured, dead, just absolutely exhausted. And in theory, it's cool, but not everyone has the same capacity in that regard. So that's where more than anything, your routine needs to be made for you first and foremost, right? Because you need enough volume that you're progressing, but you don't want too much volume where you're taxing yourself, injuring yourself, or not getting the benefit. On top of that, you actually need depth, not width in a routine. So all too often, people will say, I'm improving my routine. I've added these 18 things. You're like, that's nice, but you're doing everything at like a 4 out of 10 intensity. You're not actually getting any muscular breakdown. And that's why you're seeing no change, right? So that's why in our routines, we overcome some of these things, obviously, by doing individual programming. So I don't make a program till I've seen your physique, your strengths, your weaknesses, and I know your history. I'm going to program very different for you if you're a mom of 5 who's never stepped foot in the gym, whereas maybe you're a mom of 2, but you were a D1 athlete and you used to like play like rugby or something, like you're a beast, right? I'm not going to give you some dinky routine. I'm not going to give that other person some crazy volume routine. And of course you might say, hey, I'm out of the gym. So there's a lot of things you need to consider, and you need to ask yourself from where you're starting, where can I progress to? Like, is there a path and like just a path, I guess, in a storyline that makes sense for you to actually see that progress? So I know it's a little vague, but there's quite a lot to consider there. So more than anything, we overcome that obviously by managing volume and obviously having progression, having you progress into movement in a way that makes sense. I don't think if you've never squatted before in your life, you should jump into a barbell squat. There's better paths there, right? You can do a goblet squat, you can do a bodyweight squat, and you can begin the progressions to be able to achieve that movement. If you have absolutely no history, you shouldn't just be jumping into barbell work per se, because you might have imbalances, you might have injuries, and you might actually develop some bad patterns. So the custom nature is the biggest one, but I know that's less tangible, so I won't dwell as much there. Another great way I really just take advantage of my programming is with an RIR system. So this is reps in reserve. And what's so amazing about RIR is whereas maybe you're squatting and like I said, you're doing a 4 out of 10 intensity. So maybe you got like 20 left in the tank, but you feel a little tired, you start to feel it, so you stop. RIR is amazing because if I say RIR 0, you should literally be like failing. Like you should barely be able to do that last rep or fail. I wouldn't really program something like that for a squat because that could be more dangerous where you could hurt yourself. It's just not as efficient. Can I do an RIR 0 for a bicep curl? Absolutely. If you fail a bicep curl, you'll live. You'll be fine. Lateral raise, something like that. I'll just be like, I can't, right? So I think once you start to understand RIR, and if it's like 1 or 2, and I love the adage, it's a little intense, but if there's a gun to your head and I said, do more reps, if you could do that, right, that's how you'll actually know where you're at. And maybe you have 1 or 2 left in the tank. RIR1 would mean you have 1 left in the tank. RIR2 would mean you have 2. So you got to learn to actually adapt to that. And like I said, there's some movements that should be a 0, some that should be a 1, some that should be 2, some that occasionally would be a 3, and you probably wouldn't want anything above that. But outside of that, I just made some notes that I think would benefit to this question, because if you want to incorporate them. So obviously too, like having that structure, that volume guidelines, and then most importantly, one thing I wanted to share is DUP. So that's daily underlying periodization, undulating, sorry. And what's so important about this is the other fallacy people make is they'll say, I'm leveling up my routine. I'm doing 18 new things. Tomorrow I'm going to do 18 new things. So I'm just going to go pick different machines so I feel the burn and it's new. You actually don't want that, because you want to become more advanced in that movement, right? If I want to be a great hockey player, I'm not really going to get much from going and wearing figure skates half the time and then practicing running on ice with shoes. It's just inefficient from what I'm actually trying to do. And that's why you actually want to build maturity and strength within those movements so you can actually improve. And a lot of it is very form-based, very structure based, where you actually need to just improve your motor functions within the movements. And that's why doing repetitive movements is good, albeit boring. And I overcome that with my clients by doing different types of periodization. So obviously periodizing reps. Some weeks you'll do 8, some weeks you'll do 12 in the same movement. So you can get strong in different patterns with different weights. I'll do it with mirroring exercise. So perhaps you could do an incline dumbbell bench. You could do an incline barbell bench if you're more advanced. There's different variations you could do. Dumbbell chest fly, you could do a pec deck machine. It's the same pattern of a movement, but you get some variance week to week where it feels fresh and it feels new. And that makes your routine exciting. And if your routine's exciting and fun, you're going to have more of a buy-in and you're going to see more results. So I could go off on training forever because I love it. I love programming. Like I said, it's like composing a great piece of music. There's so many considerations that need to go in it. But I actually made a really good sheet. I shared it previously. If you haven't grabbed that yet, I'll give that totally free to you. It's my 7 training hacks cheat sheet, and there's 7 advanced training tactics I use with my clients to get them better results faster. And I want to give that to you totally free for listening to that and listening to me rant about programming for a few minutes. If you got to that point, I'm sure you'll like this sheet. And all I ask is just shoot me a follow on Instagram. That's really all it is. You're not signing up for a funnel or anything. Like, I'm literally just going to send you the Google Doc thing. You can't edit it, so don't try. But you'll actually have it. You'll be able to take it, use it, implement in your routines. And I just ask you actually use it so you see better results. And if you want to grab that, message me on Instagram to @colossusfit, COLOSSUSFIT, saying training hacks, and I'll send that right over to you.
Yeah, Josh nailed it there. I like to ask myself like a bunch of different questions if I were to, put together a routine. Obviously, we'll do a great job and take care of you on, 100% of the time. Like, there's so much taken into consideration. But if you were to just be putting something together, like, ask yourself, what do I enjoy? What do I dislike? And there's one thing to keep in mind is that there are some things you'll dislike that should be in your routine. Most of you probably hate Bulgarian split squats. They should be in there. How much time do I have? How many days can I work out? What type of equipment's there and what can I utilize? Any restrictions? That's another thing, is if you have restrictions where you can't do something, where overhead just kills you every time, you don't have to do things that really bother you. Like, I think it's important to work around your weaknesses, but at the same time, there's no one way to get to your journey, right? There's so many different things, and that's something obviously we specialize in. Even workout history, right? What's your history like? Are you new? Have you been lifting for years? Is there anything you're scared of? Like, some people deadlifts, they've had some bad issues in the past, they don't want it. Okay, cool, we'll work around that. And that's the biggest thing, is just like taking all of these things into consideration with these like 5 to 10 questions that I have, and be like, what actually works best for you, right? Because I know so many people who follow the most random routine ever that they found off bodybuilding.com, if that's still a thing, or maybe a Reddit forum or ChatGPT, and it's like, no, this isn't it. It's like, yes, the routine is good for that one day, but like over time, like Josh said, you need to be utilizing these different things to periodize and to actually progress to be able to peak. And like, even with our workouts, like around week 12, we've got a nice peaking cycle. Like, if you look at it, there's so many things involved, and it's an accumulation of 10 plus years of putting it together, but really also having that customization. Like, yesterday I just finished up for one of my clients, Michelle. She went to high school with me, but she goes to Planet Fitness, so there's Smith machines, right? There's some specific things where She goes at a very busy time and she knows that a lot of the machines aren't available. So I worked around that. I also grouped together all the things where it's like all the dumbbells, she can stay there and then she can go to the machines at the same time. That was one of her preferences. And then she also asked me for a day 4 because I had her on 3 days for the first 4 weeks. And then the next 4, she wanted a bonus day 4 because she felt like she could do it. So I'm like, cool. So there's a lot of like behind the scenes. Took me like an hour and a bit to like make sure it was perfect. And that's where like most people, they're just like getting lazy. They're like, oh, what can I follow? Or, can I just follow this random influencers? Like every day they're posting new exercises. Let me try that. And it's like they're wondering why they're not seeing change. So I just had to pop off there, and hopefully that gets you some things to think about when you're creating a routine or when you're hiring us to create a routine for you.
Yeah, and there's lots of exercises that are good for other people that don't make sense for you. We all have different leverages, and that's where I've known people and they say, hey, I made this ChatGPT routine, and then they'll get hurt or they'll be like doing something. I'm like, why are you doing that? That makes no sense, right? Just because it makes sense for a consensus of people. Everyone's so different. Some of us are lankier, some of us are thinner, some of us are more advanced and not like. There's so much that you actually need to think in terms of programming. And I love what Kyle said too about not doing the things you don't like. And on the flip side, sometimes you need to do the things you don't like, not if they're suboptimal or dangerous for you, but doing hard exercises. I would say I hate 33% of the things I do, but I take it like medicine, right? Lunges will never be fun to me. Split squats will never be fun to me. Squats, I like the challenge of them, but they kill me. I got to kind of get mentally aware and get fired up before I do them. But just the same, if you're programming for yourself, you're like, okay, Monday, biceps, Tuesday, triceps, Wednesday, chest, Thursday, arms. That's my 4-day routine. Sounds amazing. Just sounds really fun. You're going to go in there, you're going to goof around, talk to some friends, get a little pump and leave. You're going to be leaving so many results on the table, and you're not going to be addressing major parts of your body, right? There's going to be so much neglect there. So that's where it's also important you wedge in stuff you love. You understand the cadence of a routine, because I find some people will just do such crazy intense things back to back without pacers. Sometimes I'll sprinkle calves in early on legs between really insane movements so I can kind of catch my breath, because when you're going really heavy and hard, your heart rate will get up quite a lot. So sometimes pacing yourself with that, moving into nice hypertrophy at the end, understanding volume. Once again, I could go crazy, but grab that free training hacks guide. Totally free. Just message me on Instagram to grab that at colossusfit, COLOSSUSFIT. Just make sure you follow me. I will check because I want to make sure we're friends and you get all of our incredible content. But now we're going to go into our final question, and that is cardio or weight training better for fat loss?
Very great question, and I'm going to answer it with weight training, right? So obviously, let me start off with the most important thing. It's the nutrition. Everyone probably knows that, and a lot of people don't follow that. But overall, from a weight loss perspective, the benefits of weight training are endless, right? And this is where it's tough, is a lot of people think cardio. They think when you need to lose weight, I need to run, I need to walk, I need to spend hours on the treadmill. But weight loss is that thing, weight training is that thing that long term is going to get you to, boost your metabolism. Is even gaining muscle is actually going to help you be able to eat more calories down the road and therefore see better results when you are trying to diet. It just does so many incredible things. I could talk about the benefits of strength training and weight training and resistance training, whatever you want to call it, for hours, similar to Josh talking about his programming. But you could you could 100% lose fat without doing cardio. Now, is that a good idea? Probably not. I do believe cardio is amazing for heart health, and I truly believe every single person should be walking. The benefits are endless of that, just for your overall mental health, the way you feel. There's actually even it came out recently where they were saying that if people were to just walk 30 minutes a day, 10 minutes after each meal, you could lower the risk of diabetes or pre-diabetes, and 60% of people would, which I thought was crazy. So the point is that cardio is incredible, but at the same time, if you were to have a certain amount of time within each day, obviously I'd allocate it to eating well, making sure things are prepped, you're hitting your calories. That's number 1. 2 would be weight training, making sure you're doing at least an hour, 3, 4, and hopefully 5 times a week. That's where I see the most amount of gains. And then cardio would just be the next up as well. It's just, you can lose fat without cardio. It does make it more challenging, but that's my answer there.
Yeah, so well said. And I know we've answered this one previously, and everything's important, but the best thing you can do as well as like really analyze what your goals are. So if your goal is to be a marathoner, you can lose a ton of fat doing that, but obviously you need to do quite a lot of that. I think where people go wrong is that they'll be like, I want to look really good, like I want to have a really aesthetic body. And if you want that, like lifting should be your primary. But if you have extreme cardio goals like triathlete, you could get away with that because you could do so much volume, and like it's so much that you can kind of get away with it, but that's probably the only exception. So for 9 out of 10 people, unfortunately, like weightlifting is more important because that's going to shape and change your body, your composition, as Kyle had said. And then within that, you can actually just eat and make sure you're in a deficit and just really regulate from there. And then cardio on top is amazing. But I love what Kyle said too, like, because heart health is everything. For a while, I'm like, I don't need cardio. There's like a period of time I would just shred, do no cardio, wouldn't do anything extra. I'd be like, why waste energy when I can use it in the gym? But I remember too, like, I wouldn't have the lungs I'd want. If I'd play sports, I'd get gas. And I don't like that either. So I personally don't mind some detriment to my muscularity to do some cardio. Like if I was bodybuilding, it wouldn't be optimal, I would say, for me to do 2 hours of volleyball. It just wouldn't be. But the reality is like the small margin of change that would occur from me doing a little bit of excess cardio or doing more walking or going on the odd run, like it's not going to kill you, right? Whereas Kyle can attest, like if you're doing a marathon or you're doing something very intense, there will be a cost with muscle. But in this case, for the question of fat loss, you can get away with it. But in general, you don't necessarily need it. So I'd say for fat loss, personally, I'd be more of the camp of weight training, because usually when people say fat loss, they want to lose fat, but they want to look good. They want their composition to look good. So that's like more the truth of the question. And you can fully achieve that from weight training alongside just a good balanced diet.
Yeah, and like that's so well said. Yeah, like people, yeah, I know people who will just run, they'll do tons of cardio and then they do want to lose fat and their nutrition is good. But like Josh was saying, I think that's so important to see, because like we know what people really want. So let's say you do a ton of cardio, you run, you do all that stuff, and you lose 20 something pounds, whatever the case is. Let's say half of that's muscle, which is very possible. You might be happy with the number that you've hit, but you won't be happy with your body composition. Whereas let's say someone who weight trains, they don't do much cardio, they lose 20 pounds, but then most of that is fat and then like a couple pounds of muscle, because you will lose muscle. The person who resistance trained will be a lot happier with their physique and how they look. And that's what I know for most people is that's what they're striving for, is like, yes, you want to lose fat, but you also want to be happy with your appearance and how you look. So very well said. I appreciate you all for spending time with us today. There's a few things. Once again, make sure to grab that training hacks and make sure you're following us, colossusfit, colossusfit. If you are looking to lose fat and build muscle at the same time, we're doing a little test group of 3 to 5 people. It is a paid test group, and all you have to do is message us body recomp to our Instagram. We look forward to changing your life, and we'll see you in the next episode. Peace out.